Welcome to Bay Area Mysteries. Hi, I'm Rich Stiller, and I'm in Stanford University, located in Palo Alto, California. My God, this is a beautiful place. These buildings, the blue sky, people walking all around, University Avenue just a few miles away. But imagine none of this here. You know, it could have happened. Leland Stanford almost built Stanford University over in Fremont, California, right over there on the other side of the bay. This structure over here is all that's left of the once large Stanford estate. Pretty pathetic, huh? Well, anyway, this was once known as the Leland Stanford Winery. This building was located in Warm Springs, which is now part of Fremont, California. By the way, in case you didn't know, it was here that the first California-grown champagne was produced. Right nearby was the popular Warm Springs Hotel, which was built in the 1850s and also purchased by Leland Stanford. He owned a lot of land over here. In exploring the history of the area, I decided to go visit Paul Sethi, whose parents were the last owners of the Stanford property. I had to ask Paul, why wasn't Stanford University built in Fremont?
Rich, it could have ended up here. I believe Leland Stanford, liked the idea of picking up this little piece of property, and he ended up purchasing all the land around it. He actually owned 4,000 acres, beginning with Mission Boulevard, running all the way to the top of Mission Peak. And I think that Mr. Stanford thought this was the perfect setting for a university when the idea first came up, when his son died in Italy. I think in the back of his mind he thought, boy, that's where I want to put the university that we're going to dedicate to our son. I once went through the records of all the guests that stayed at the hotel, and you can see that there were, I think, 5 or 6 U.S. presidents that stopped at the property, dozens of senators and congresspeople, and a lot of very well-to-do Americans would come from the East Coast out here to San Francisco. They would leave their wives there, and the men would come down and have a fun week down here for themselves. For Mrs. Stanford, I believe that there were different factors that came into play for her. First of all, she was a very social woman. They lived in San Francisco up on Nob Hill and really would spend the summers down on the farm where Stanford University is today. She had family personal railway car stopped at Mayfield Station, and she didn't have the same social network here in the Fremont area.
Today, as I walked around the property with Paul, I couldn't help but think, once again, why Stanford didn't build his university here. So Paul and I went to the archives at Stanford University and found a letter from Leland Stanford's nephew, who wrote that in the 1870s, Leland asked his brother Josiah if he wanted to swap residences. This letter actually is proof that Stanford University could have been located at Warm Springs. In the end, it turned out that Josiah didn't want to make the move. He simply liked Warm Springs better than Palo Alto. So this is all that's left of Leland Stanford's dream of building a university here in Fremont, the Stanford Winery. He loved it here, but his wife loved it in Palo Alto, so they built Stanford University over there. And now you know the answer to one of the great mysteries of the San Francisco Bay Area.